Hey there, it's Dominic Rubino from Profit Tool Belt. How are you? Hey, you can see that I'm in a parking lot because I'm waiting for my daughter to get out of art class, and I made a commitment that I was going to record the next in the series of the 7-step selling process. For those of you who sell, and we all sell at some point, if you sell to homeowners, if you sell commercial accounts as a tradesperson, this is going to be a pretty important series. Selling, of course, is where the whole business starts. You have to be able to provide your services to somebody who's going to pay for them. That's the way this whole thing works. And there is a system to selling. Now, a lot of people think it's just talking to people and shaking hands and kissing babies, and that's actually not the case. Sales is more like chess. Sales is more like chess than it is checkers. So if you want to start winning the deals that you want at the prices you want, then it's time to put a system in place. And you know by listening to this show that I talk a lot about systems. Easy, simple systems that are repeatable, that are scalable, that give you predictability, give you confidence in your business, so you know within reason if you're going to win a deal or if you're not. And if it's a deal you want, how to really put the gears on to make sure you're getting that deal. So we're going to talk about the 7-step sales process. The video before this in the series is where I went through all 7 steps from a pretty high level. So you got them all in one shot. And now I'm going to go through piece by piece and break apart the sales process so you understand it. So you see how the pieces work together, because it's not just one big jumbled mess. If you've got salespeople on your team, you should get them to watch this series as well. The 7 steps I'm talking about here are not my magic steps. They are the 7 steps to professional selling. And so you can learn, just as I've learned over the years, how to do this. So step number 1, that's what we're talking about, is qualifying. Now, qualifying is really a process of asking a bunch of great questions and listening really, really carefully. Sales is not about being a smooth talker. We've all heard of the kind of person, maybe we define a friend like this, say that guy could sell something to anybody. He could sell ice to Eskimos. But that's not true. It's not a thing. People who are really good at selling are great at asking questions and listening to the other person and finding a way to solve their problems. And that's what we do. If you're listening to this show, you do great work that you're proud of, and customers call you back or refer you to their friends. Otherwise, you don't listen to this show. And if you're somebody who isn't doing great work, I don't want you listening to the show, because it's just for serious business owners in the construction trades who are doing great work. And by virtue of that, just because you're like that, then I know you can help people. And if you really want to help people, then you can sell this way. So qualifying is that first step. We're asking great questions and we're listening very carefully. There's a saying, you might have heard this before. I might even butcher it, but I'm going to give it a try. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them in proportion, right? God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should use them in proportion. Have you ever sat with somebody who just talked at you? They just talked at you, or they went through a script and you could just tell they were going through a script. It's kind of frustrating and annoying. You don't want to be that guy. Ask good questions, and the type of question, I just gave it away there, is an open-ended question. It's a very specific type of question that we ask. So when you're sitting down with a new person or you're talking to them on the phone, what you want to do is ask a very specific type of question, and that type of question is an open-ended question. An open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with a yes or a no or a number or a fact. Okay? It has to be answered by the person, by them just talking. So instead of, let's use an example here where we're selling a new air conditioning system to a residential situation, to a homeowner. We're not going to walk in and say, so I understand you guys want a new AC unit. Well, that's not a question. And they might say, no, that's not why we wanted to talk to you at all. You're assuming a lot of things. You're not opening up the relationship. You're not trying to learn anything. You're showing that you're there to sell stuff. Hi, folks. Glad to be here. Glad you're both with me today. Tell me why you wanted to meet. A great open-ended question. Now, your job here is to shut up. Really. Once you ask a great question, shut up. Don't talk. Just listen. Take notes. Really listen to what they're saying, what they're not saying, and how they're saying it. We're qualifying to see if this person or this couple or this buying situation is one where we can help, and if these are people we want to work with, right? You want to hear if they start complaining about other contractors they've worked with and how they took that guy to small claims court and how this guy never came back as he promised and that guy didn't call us every 5 minutes when we asked him to. You know that you're in front of the wrong buyer, right? So you're qualifying them as much as they're qualifying you. So ask that great question. The other thing I want you to do in the qualifying stage is be really curious. You don't have to be technical. You don't actually even have to know anything technical about your product or service yet, because at this stage, this is only step 1 of a 7-step process. I'm not selling. You're not selling here. You're qualifying. Qualifying is not selling. Don't confuse the two. If you start selling in that first meeting, that first appointment, that very first connection, then you're doing what we call stepping on your sale. You're selling out of order. And you're just going to mess things up. You wouldn't build the roof for a house before you built the foundation, right? Got to build a solid foundation. We have to understand their why. Why do they need this thing? Why do they need that service? Why am I the person you're talking to? Why didn't you call somebody else? Why are we doing it now? Why didn't you do it last week? Why aren't you doing it next month? See, these are all great questions you can ask to help the decision maker narrow things down, narrow their focus. And of course, if it's right, you're the right solution. And you're asking great questions so you understand their situation the best. Okay? Here's another thing, really important for qualifying. Qualifying is really important in general. So I'm going to say really important a lot because this is the start of the sales funnel. If you don't get this right, you're not going to get the sale. It all has to be set up properly so you can finish properly. For those of you who are in trades where this makes sense, you'll understand what I mean. If you're not plumb, square, and level at the foundation, it's going to be really tough to be plumb, square, and level at the rooftop, right? So you got to spend all that time doing the prep work to make sure that the finished product is where you want it to be. It's the same in selling. Selling is really more of, what's the analogy here? It's more like chess than checkers. How's that? It's more like chess than it is checkers. You just have to do the right things in the right order. And that's why asking these qualifying questions is so important, right? It's because you want to make sure this relationship is plumb, square, and level, just like you would make sure a foundation is before you built the building. All right. Want to make sure all decision makers are involved in the next step, which is the first meeting, right? All decision makers must be present. And so you're going to need to ask questions to find out who the true decision maker is. Who really calls the shots here? Now, if you're meeting with a couple, and typically that's a husband and wife, although that's not always the only couples that are out there, but if it's a husband and wife, the husband might think he calls the shots, but in a lot of cases, if it's like my house, I'm just there as a visitor. My wife calls the shots, or she's got really deep opinions about the AC unit and what it does, and which bedroom needs to be hottest, and which is coolest, and how the kitchen needs to be different than the bathrooms, and more thought than I've put into things. Let's just be honest. But I can't gloss over that. She is either the decision maker or the influencer. There's two parties. If there's two people, there's two parties to this. One's the decision maker, one's the influencer. What you want to find out is who's the person that could cut a check and pay for this service, decide to pay for this service without the other one's input. That is really where it hits the fan. Because once you understand that, you know how to structure your questions and structure your understanding and your curiosity around the needs of that person or the situation that they see in front of them that you're there to solve. That sound okay? Hopefully that's not too confusing. You just want to find out who the decision maker is, because you can't, if the kids phone you and say, hey, I really want to get the house painted. I'm going to gather all the information. Then I'm going to tell my mom and dad. Don't go to that appointment. You're just going to get in there. You're going to start dancing around. Don't dance around. You got to know who the decision maker is and deal with the people that are going to make the decision. All right. Okay. The next thing here is the time that it takes you to get the appointment. See, this is step number 1. Step number 2 is to get the appointment. We actually call it setting the appointment and then getting the appointment. I want you to get that appointment within the next 3 days. And there's a very specific reason for that. I wonder if you're doing this right now. The amount of time between any step and the next step has to be as short as possible. And the reason for that is something that we've learned in sales as professional salespeople for many, many years in a gajillion situations. And it's this very true fact. Time kills deals. Time kills deals. The longer you let things stretch, the more the deal has a chance of dying. So the most amount of time you want between any two stages is 3 days. 3 days and that's it. That's actually a long time. If you can do it in 2 days, that's better. If you can do it in 1 day, that's fantastic. So for example, I have the first phone call conversation with somebody on a Monday. I've confirmed that they're the decision maker. I'm confirmed that everybody that's going to be at the meeting is a decision maker and is important. I've confirmed that these people have the money, they have the need, they have the time, and they know who I am. So those 4 ingredients are called budget, need, timing, and relationship. I've confirmed all those things with them. Then I set the appointment. And I want to get that appointment Tuesday, preferably at the very same time as we're on the phone right now. So it's exactly 24 hours later. And the reason for that is very simple. Time kills deals. If you like tips like this, these little insights, please make sure you keep listening to this channel or send me a note or fill out the application online if you want to talk and takes you through some questions so I can understand your situation a little bit better and then we can get on the phone. I'm happy to talk to you. Happy to talk to anybody who takes the time to reach out and put a little pre-planning into their business. So please fill out the application. Love to hear from you. All right, that is the high level on qualifying. Qualifying, as I said, is a really, I've got notes here. Right? Qualifying is a really important step in the sales process because it's where it all starts. If you think you have profit leaks in your business, there is a good chance those profit leaks start in estimating or in selling. And that's because mistakes that we make here echo throughout the whole process. Anything that happens here just gets echoed, you know what I mean, amplified. It becomes more of itself later on. So the wrong expectations with the client, the wrong thing said in this early stage leads to the wrong outcome at the end. So you really have to be careful here. But all I want you to do when you're talking to somebody on the phone, the very first time you're qualifying them, make sure they're the right person, that they've got the money to do the work, that you're dealing with the decision maker, right? That they need what you have to sell. So they're not talking to, they're talking to you as an air conditioning specialist, but they don't really need an electrician, if that makes sense, like a pure electrician to fix their fans, right? They need exactly what you've got, right? So we've got budget, need, timing. They need it in a certain amount of time that's reasonable to you. So we're not doing research for next year, next Christmas. We don't have time for that. They need to be able to make a decision quickly, right? So all of those things come in this qualifying stage. For more on this topic, stick with this channel. Keep coming back. I'd love to have you here. Thank you for listening in. But we've got lots more information like this. We're going to be going into step 2 of this process in the next video. Thank you very much for checking in. This is Profit Tool Belt. I'm Dominic Rubino, and this is what we talk about here.